So, welcome back to another episode of the Purple Heart Podcast. Today it's just me doing a solo one, just a sort of like update and just to see how it goes because I'm filming on my phone, so I'm just trying to get used to everything. And it'd be better now if I fix it by myself, so then I get used to how it is, and then when I'm with someone it's a bit better. But it's weird being by myself, just camera, mic, me in a room. But oh well, we'll see how it goes. And sitting here is quite nice. I normally sit in like a small little chair, but I actually prefer sitting here, so I might have to make the guests sit in the little chair from now on. But anyway, yeah, so I haven't posted for a while. There's been a few reasons for that. The first one is, well, Isaac, the cameraman, shout out Isaac. He's in London now at university, so he's busy, and it's hard to coordinate like a particular day where he's free to come down, I'm not working, and the guest is free as well. So that's always tricky. Another reason is I'm just working, so I'm quite busy a lot, and I've been a bit burnt out, and haven't been in like the perfect headspace for it. But that things are starting to change because of counselling. I've started doing counselling now. Like I said in my last episode, I was gonna get some counselling because I thought it was like the right time to. And yeah, it's been going really well. I've had about 4 sessions, and I do really recommend it to people. The way I view it is, like, if I was to paint a picture for what I find counselling is, it's me and a counsellor, and we're sitting in these chairs, and we're staring at my brain, and we're sort of kind of picking it apart, taking this part of your memory, looking at how's that affected you, and just looking at our behaviours or why I behave in a certain way or feel a certain way in certain situations. And we're just kind of picking myself apart and just basically just trying to understand yourself. Because you'd think, oh, the best person. Well, you think, oh, I know me. Of course I would know me. I am me. But it's surprising when you find out, like, wow, oh, you have a lot of oh moments. And it's weird, we're obviously having a serious conversation, but I start smiling when I notice something about myself, like another realization. And she's probably thinking, why is he smiling? But I did say, on my first session, I was like, I sat down and I said, just let you know, I might smile or laugh because I find it weird talking about myself. So on my very first session, we sat down. She said, so how does this feel for you? And I was like, I don't know, it feels strange because normally, like throughout my whole life, I've always just been on the other side of it, always like talking to other people about their stuff, and I don't really talk about mine much. I think maybe some sort of defense mechanism, or I find it easier to deal with other people's things than my own. But yeah, so I said it felt strange, and we started talking about my childhood, and I learned a lot of things. So the thing that I learned on the first session was, and I know this is quite personal stuff, but if people can relate, then it's good. And I think this is a safe space, so I guess I don't know. I just feel comfortable to share this stuff with you guys listening. So when I was young, my parents got divorced, and my mum's working full time, very stressed all the time. And us kids, we were always thinking, "Oh, mum's so stressed. We can't ask her for this or tell her our worries about this because she's already got enough stresses on her mind. So let's just keep it to ourselves and just make sure that mum's not stressing. Well, she's always stressing, but let's not add to her stress." And that's from a young age. So the behaviour that we learned was to have our feelings, but then push them down or push them to the side, and worry about someone else's. In this case, our mums. And what that starts to become a habit, and you start doing it for years and years and years, and you realise it just becomes normal. So when I'm always just asking or helping people deal with their stuff, I'm just thinking, oh, I'm just being nice. And of course it's fine to it's good to help people with their problems and issues, but when you do it to a point where you don't check in with yourself or deal with your own problems, then it starts to build up. So we're very layered. It's, if you don't deal with that and you move to the next thing, and you don't deal with that, move to the next thing, and say there's 50 things you haven't dealt with. One small thing can just like aggravate you, and you have this massive overreaction, and you're like, someone might be like, why are they reacting so much? Why are they overreacting in this way? Or like, or you think about yourself, like, why have I just this small little thing? Why have I overreacted? And it's because it just starts crashing down through the layers because you haven't dealt with it. But yeah, so that was what we learned as kids, to put our stuff aside. Me and my sister more because we're older. So then it turns out after a while of building that pattern, I subconsciously thought like my feelings and thoughts didn't matter. They were invalid, and it's quite bad. Like I said, it's good to help people, but when you're not paying attention to yourself in that way, then it can become unhealthy, because then you start to think you don't matter, and you start to think, and well, you don't think about yourself, and that can lead you to all sorts of problems. So that was the first session, and it was really good because like straight afterwards I just felt like much lighter, much happier, and just had just like a weight off my shoulders. I was like, oh, okay. And I just thought like, this is going to be good. I'm going to start learning about myself and might be able to improve myself, and that's kind of the goal. So the most like important thing I learned from the very first session was, because you know the classic phrase like treat others as you want to be treated. You need to treat yourself as you would treat others as well. It's the same thing, but it's just obviously reworded a bit. But you need to, if you're always giving advice to people and saying, oh, you need to do this, oh, don't do that because that's not good for you, but then you don't take the advice on yourself, it's very hypocritical. And that's something I've just been doing for ages. I'd always recommend counselling to people, but I never did counselling myself. And it's hard to recommend something when you don't do it or you haven't done it. So, but now having had a few sessions, I definitely recommend it. It's helped me so much, and it's helped me realise things that I do and how to change them. Oh, my dog's crying outside. Hopefully, I'm praying you can't hear that, but if you can't hear that, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's just something that you can just speak the truth and just be yourself and not have to worry about anyone judging you, and it's really nice to just offload and get that stuff out of your head. Another thing that I learned in counselling was that I constantly do this thing where if I'm in a situation and I'm talking to someone, or just any scenario really, I'll start to think and predict what that person might say. Or if I'm like worried about something, like, oh, I have to talk about this with someone tomorrow, I'll think about the conversation, and I'll think how they'll respond, and I'll go back and forth, and I'll have the conversation already, even though it hasn't happened, and that's just me assuming what they would say. But I always thought, oh no, I know they're going to say this, and then I'm going to say that, and then I'm going to feel this way. And I learned today that the reason I do that was because so basically what I'm doing is I'm preparing myself for the worst, which isn't good, because if you're always preparing yourself for the worst, then you basically are just living it, and then if you do end up doing that, you're living it twice, which obviously isn't good. And the reason I was doing it because things have happened to me in the past, like my parents getting divorced, or when I was attacked, and those things, I was like, my subconscious was like, well, you weren't prepared for this, and look what's happened to you, so you got to prepare for the future, you got to prepare for the worst, keep preparing for the worst, because you have to protect yourself. So it's a sort of defense mechanism, some sort of self-preservation, but it just means that you're always living in this anxious state, and you always think, oh no, this is going to happen. And you literally go through the stages and the feelings of it happening, even though it hasn't happened, which is just like, why would you do that to yourself? So that's something I'm trying to stop and think, well, I don't know what they're going to say, or I don't know what the situation's going to be like. I just have to turn up, see how it goes. So I'm trying to learn to do that. But it's tricky, and it's weird learning about yourself, because, and it's scary, because you like, oh, look, I thought I knew myself, but turns out I really didn't. But counselling is going really well, and she's really nice, and she just draws things out of me, and we come to these conclusions. I'm like, today I literally wanted to say to her, I was like, bloody hell, you're really good at this. So on my first session I thought like, oh, we're going to be talking about Lisa straight away, and we'll deal with this, but the first session was basically all about my childhood and when I was younger, and the stuff that and how that affected me now, which is interesting. In the second session we spoke about Lisa, about the whole event and everything, and like how it made me feel. One thing that I did notice that since May, when it happened, I didn't dream about Elisa, which I felt was odd because well, he's been at the forefront of my mind. I've been doing a podcast, been selling hoodies, been going to events, and it's been like Lisa, Lisa, Lisa. Didn't have a single dream. I could go out with someone for a day, or just like talk to them once during the day, and then have a dream about them that night. So I was like, that is strange. But after my counselling session, my second session where we were speaking about Lisa, and I could get things off my mind and off my chest, I did have a dream about him. Like the next day, I think. And so the way I see that is I had these like subconscious barriers blocking it out from what had happened, but once having counselling and bring those barriers down, and then I could have the dream. I kind of saw that as progress. That's just a little measurement, but for personally, that's how I saw it. Also talking about Lisa, today we buried, we planted a tree for him in Calvary Park, a magnolia tree. And it's weird because me and Elise would always listen to a song called Magnolia, and we'd just start like vibing and dancing together. So it's quite a nice coincidence. But no, so we planted this tree, and we're going to come back every now and then and see how it's grown. And it's just nice because it kind of represents like you're sort of still living on, even though he is gone. There's like something there that he lives through, but of course he lives through us, through his family, through all his friends, and what we've learned from him as well. But now we have like a physical representation, and we're going to get a bench made for him as well in Calverley. So yeah, it was really nice, to be fair. It was quite it was quite awkward really, because we arrived and there was like this guy sitting down, just like smoking a cigarette. He was like dressed in like all high vis, so you knew he worked at the park, but we weren't sure if it's the right guy. So we were like, "Oh hi, are you doing a tree plant?" And he was like, "Would you like that now? Would you?" And we were like, "I'll turn it around." But I thought in my head like, "Yeah, if you're not too busy." He was a bit simple, but it's not his fault. But so then we start walking towards where the tree's going to be planted, and he goes, "So what's this tree for anyway?" And I was like, we kind of looked at each other, like we all looked at ourselves, and we're like thinking, "Don't you know?" Okay, well this is awkward. I said, one of our friends has passed. He was like, "What?" Like, yeah, one of our friends died. He was like, "Oh, how did that happen? Like, what?" It just seemed really like his emotional intelligence was pretty low. And we were like, just looking at each other like, yeah, he took his own life. He was like, "Oh, right, okay then." Yeah, it was a very strange thing, but then he did do a really good job of planting the tree and building like a nice thing around it to keep it protected. But it was just kind of like an odd experience. He was like, "Oh, do you want that built now, do you?" I was like, "Yes, please, if that's not too much to ask." But I don't know, we just thought it would be much more planned, and that he would know what the reason is. We wouldn't have to explain. But it was fine. It was kind of funny. It kind of lightened the mood, just to have us kind of like all together, like laughing at this weird situation. But no, it was nice. And we thought it was going to rain, but luckily it didn't. It was sunny, kind of warm as well. I recently went to Bristol for the King of Hearts event. It was a few rappers performing. There's purple lights everywhere, and it was in Elisa's name, kind of a celebration for his life. Everyone coming together, and it was really nice. At one point, I was standing in the middle of the crowd. Someone was performing. These purple lights were everywhere. We were wearing some of us wearing our Black Minds Matter t-shirts. Shout out Young Goat. And I just nearly started crying because I just felt so overwhelmed. I was like, look at this crazy thing that's happening right now. This big event, people having a good time, and it's all in the name of you. Like, it's all for this one person. Like, look how much one person matters. And like, if he could have seen this, it would have been so different. Like, look how much you matter, bro. We're all here. This whole thing is because of you. And it just nearly got me. I just nearly started crying. But yeah, it was crazy. like the stamps to get in. Like when we get in, the stamp was like a little purple heart, which was nice. And like I said, there was purple lights everywhere. It was just a really nice experience. And I always like going to see like Elisa's friends in Bristol. Yeah, so it was really good. And I think another reason why I felt overwhelmed was because I was looking around, just like all this, everything was purple. Like I said, the lights and the stamp on your hand was purple hearts, and it's crazy because it just from on the day that he died, or the day that we found out, that night I just posted like, this is how I'm going to remember you, with like a purple heart and the song Purple Heart by Dave, and it just kind of just took off, and I feel like it's now becoming a symbol where obviously it's like for a terrible thing that happened, but it's also like the way I see it is the purple heart represents that we are like, life is tough and we are struggling, but we're getting through it together. That's how I kind of see it. It's like people being brave, talking about their problems, and like everyone working together to try just battle this thing that is life, that is so harsh sometimes, and we do struggle, but together we can get through it. And I think that's why I felt like overwhelmed, because I felt kind of empowered, and just like we can really make a difference here, because like look what's happening now. I don't know, it was just really nice to see. But yeah, it was just a good night, and it made me think like, look how much one person matters. And I just want to say to people, because I thought that I didn't matter, but now I'm starting to realise I do. It's like, you do matter, like you matter so much, but you might not be able to realise it, but you really, really do. And there's like so many people that love you, and like your friends and your family, and if you were to not be here, a lot of people would miss you. And it's just, sometimes it's hard to recognise that. You think, oh, if I wasn't here, who would care? But like, just believe me, like loads of people would. I've seen it, like the amount of people that were there. And for anyone out there that feels like, oh, I don't really matter, no one cares about me, like it's just not true. It's our brain tricking ourselves. It's like you do matter, like just, and I can't express enough like how much you really do. But I'm just trying to just like drill that point, because I think it's a big problem. If you think you don't matter, then everything you do won't be beneficial to you, to the people around you. It'll be hard to grow as a person or to change. So you have to know that you matter, and then from there you can step forward. Personally, that's what I believe. Yeah, so it was just a really nice night in Bristol. I stayed at Andrew's house, Andrew White, shout out Andrew. I left my sister's jacket there, and she's annoyed that I left it there. And I saw you wearing it the other day, so you better bring it back undamaged, because if you do destroy it, she'll kill me, because she really likes that jacket. People ask me quite often, is it hard to go back to Bristol because of what happened there? And well, not really, like, because every time that I've been there since, it's been for like a good reason. People are coming together. I'm seeing friends of Elisa's. I see friends that I have there, and it's been positive every time I've been back. So I'm happy to go there and meet the people that Elisa has touched, just by knowing him. Yeah, no, it is just really nice going there and seeing people and having a good time. So no, I don't. It doesn't feel weird going back. A while back, I posted on my Instagram story, like, I'm going to be doing a podcast by myself. Just anything someone wants to talk about, and people gave some suggestions. And there's just some on my laptop here. So one of them is goal setting, crisis of mid-20s, how to set goals. I'm not the best when it comes to goal setting and goal achieving. I struggle, but something that has helped me is, and people say this all the time, but it does help, is to have this, the thing you want, you have that, and that's ahead of you. No matter what it is or how big it is, that's where it is. And then you think like, what's the first thing I can do? Small step. And just keep taking it step by step, small step, and eventually you will get there. Another way that I like to look at it is, it's hard to set goals if you don't really know what you want. It's hard to like run towards something. So another way of looking at it is like running away from something. What is it that you don't want? And that's what I did just the other day. The first thing I wrote was I don't want to be fat and overweight and unfit. So like, okay, so that's something I don't want. What can I do to change that? So I wrote like a gym plan, and I haven't been to the gym for so long, and I'm literally going tomorrow. Today's Friday, so I'm going on Saturday for the first time in over a year because I damaged my leg and stuff. So yeah, it's just something like, I don't want this to happen to me. What can I do to change that? And then that kind of creates your goal for you. So something that you don't want, that might be helpful. Another way to look at it. Another person says intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation / values. So like intrinsic motivations are you're doing something to get this like good feeling inside of you, and you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your own gain, if that makes sense. But like extrinsic is where you're doing it to get like some kind of external award, like getting a trophy or getting a nice new car. And I think they're asking like which is better maybe, but I think it just kind of depends. It depends on the person. Some people will be driven by like, I'm gonna work so I can get this car. I'm gonna like work my arse off so I can get this house, or and it's, I'm not saying being materialistic is bad, but just some people are just driven by different things, and different things bring different people pleasure. Personally, I think I'm more of an intrinsic thing. My motivations seem to be intrinsic because of the good feeling I get from like helping someone or creating this podcast, creating like my podcast. Another thing is, what is success? I think it's very subjective. Two different people can have two different definitions for success. Some might say it's being rich and famous, or some might say it's just living in like a cabin in the woods. Do you know what I mean? It's, and like they could say I've successfully lived my life the way I wanted to. So I think you have to kind of think of your own success and not think of other people's success. It's hard to not measure between, but a lot of the time it is different. I think personally, like what I would define a successful life is, it's just I'm happy, I'm mentally fit, physically fit, not to an over extreme where I'm fucking jacked, but just I'm happy with the way that I am. I'm happy with my life in terms of I've got a stable job, I've got a nice family and kids, nice wife and kids. But that is a family. Yeah, I'm not very driven by like materialistic things personally. Another one here is relationships. I won't talk too much about relationships. I haven't had loads, but I just think the main thing is, look all this fluff on me. Look all this fluff. I think the main thing when it comes to relationships is just honesty. Like, you have to be honest straight from the beginning, because if not, then it just bites you back in the ass like later on. You have to, and honesty and trust. You have to be honest with how you feel, and when it is a problem, speak about it and talk it through. Like I said ages ago, like you have to attack the dragon, face the dragon when it's small, because when the dragon grows, you're not gonna. If the dragon's big, you're not gonna face it. So if there's like something that's annoying you or something that feels a bit off, just say it to your partner. And if they love you and you love them, you're gonna try your hardest to figure that problem out. So it's just about being honest and trust. If you do something to break the trust, then I can imagine that just ruins it, because say there's like two people together, someone cheats on another one, and then you try to work it through. I just think that person will be, okay, well, let's try and make this work again. But in the back of their head, oh no, what if it happens again? I've done it before, it can happen again, and that can like feed poison into a relationship and just create it to deconstruct. But I've never had that experience, so I can't be too sure. But yeah, if I was to say anything about relationships, I would just say honesty and trust, and obviously communication, which I've just been speaking about. If there's something that is there, like a problem, just air it out as soon as possible, get it sorted, and yeah. Another thing says just you, like not even YOU, just you. I guess that's me. I feel like I've been talking about myself this whole podcast. Yeah, I don't really know how this has been. It feels very strange, like not talking to anyone. I'm like, do I look at the camera? Do you know what I mean? It's a new experience for me. So I don't know. If you enjoyed it, then that's good. If you didn't, I understand. But no, soon we'll get people on and we'll get back to normal. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.